Hey there, I'm Joanie. Thanks for joining me. Today's recipe, fair warning, is a little strange. This one is from the way back category in my childhood, and anytime I tell people about this recipe, they go, huh? But I did find somebody else who grew up with it. Maybe you grew up with it. But my friend Susie enjoyed meat crust pie as a kid, so she's gonna tell us all about meat crust pie, and I'm gonna show you how to make it.
Well, meat crust pie to me is a memory of my mom going all out for dinner. And I know that sounds strange because most people might think, your mom went all out creating a crust of meat filled with a rice, tomato, veggie mixture and topped with cheese? Oh yes, she did. We had about 5 meals on rotation my entire childhood. And like meat crust pie was like the 6th that shot in between spaghetti, chili, and chicken. Maybe a pork chop every now and then. So for me, it evokes a memory that is very pleasant. That is, if I knew my mom was making it when I was leaving for school, I could not wait to get home. It's kind of got everything that you could possibly want in a dish: meat, cheese, a starch of some sort, although rice might be a grain. Anyway, regardless, it's not healthy, it's not good for you in any way, but darn it, it is tasty.
Now, making meat crust pie is really easy. I've got the full recipe at joaniesimon.com, or if you're here on YouTube, link down in the description box below. But of course, it's meat crust pie, so we have to start off with some meat. And in this case, we're using ground beef. Now, I do recommend using a leaner ground beef, maybe like a 90-10 or a 93-7 lean to fat ratio, because later on we have to drain off the fat, and having less fat just makes it easier. More on that in a bit. But then combine that with a half a cup of tomato sauce, diced green peppers, onions, salt, pepper, and then some breadcrumbs. Now, I like to use panko in this situation simply because I usually have panko on hand versus any other kind of breadcrumbs. And I don't really like the pre-done breadcrumbs. There's just too much salt in it. So I like to, of course, be a control freak and control the amount of salt that I'm putting into things. And then you mix all of that up together just like it's a meatloaf. Get in there, get your hands dirty, and then you want to transfer that over to a pie plate. But instead of a dough crust, we're using a meat crust. So you want to press that all along the edges, get it evenly distributed, and a nice even layer throughout.
My favorite part of the meat crust pie, well, it's really twofold, I have to be honest. Whenever you eat it, you have to get the right ratio of cheese, rice, and meat crust all together, or it just feels lacking. But I like it when the meat is a little crispy, that's nice, but I definitely like the crunchy browned cheese. I mean, no one ever said you couldn't leave it in a little longer under the broiler just to get that cheese, that perfect melty, crusty amazingness. So definitely the cheese on the top, marrying with everything, and that ultimate bite, that's the best part.
Now next you gotta make the filling, and it is that cheesy rice-based filling, but if you go online, look up this recipe, a lot of folks will tell you to use instant rice, but I have personally a bigger preference for a long grain white rice, and that cooks up just fine. It doesn't alter the flavor, it's just got a little bit more texture in the final dish. So you cook up 1 1/4 cups worth of rice, which doubles to about 3 1/2 cups worth, and then to that you're gonna add in some tomato sauce, more diced green peppers, and 1/2 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. Now this is where I have gone wrong in the past with this recipe, is not paying attention to which ingredients are divided. So that's the tomato sauce, the cheese, and the bell peppers go into both the filling and the crust. So just mind the measurements when you're reading those directions. Now once you've combined all of those ingredients, you go ahead and pour them into your meat crust, and then cover it with tin foil and bake for 25 minutes at 350 degrees. When you open it back up, you're gonna notice that that crust has done a great job of browning. This is where you gotta be careful because you wanna drain off the excess fat that is collected in that pie plate, but you just wanna tilt it ever so slightly to drain off that fat. Don't go too far. I have been there, I have done that. It doesn't end well. So just be careful. Don't be perfectionistic, you're not gonna get all of it, but just drain off a little bit of the excess. It's gonna help everything just really come together so that when we slice into it later, it'll be all one nice, beautiful piece. Then we top it off with the remaining cheese. Now, I'm gonna go on my little cheese soapbox. You've heard me talk about this before. You wanna make sure to shred your own. Don't get the prepackaged stuff here because it's not gonna melt the same. It's treated with potato starch, which, I mean, I love potatoes, it's not gonna hurt you, but it's not gonna allow the cheese to do that melty magical thing that we all love. So be sure to shred your own, top off that pie with the extra leftover cheese, and then bake it for another 10 minutes at 350 degrees, maybe 15. What you're gonna look for is nice and melty on the top, and it's gonna be bubbling all around the edges. That's when it's done.
Of course, meat crust pie is nothing unless it is paired with a very cold, frosty glass of skim milk. Because really, what else would you have with it? I mean, as a kid, clearly I'm not like pairing it with a cab or anything. That would be Cabernet, just saying. No, and my parents didn't really drink at home when we were kids, so no, it was milk. But I can't even fathom eating it now without milk because it goes perfectly.
Now, if you grew up with meat crust pie, please leave a comment down below. We would all love to hear about your memories related to this dish and validate the fact that Susie and I were not the only weirdos raised on meat crust pie. But if you didn't grow up with meat crust pie, I'm sure there's some crazy, weird, wacky family recipes that you've got, and we'd love to hear about those too. So thank you so much for joining us here in my kitchen and going on another adventure as it relates to recipes. But I hope you have a great week. We'll see you again here real soon, okay? Bye.